As we look ahead to the winter of 2025-2026, this season promises to be anything but ordinary. Instead of a steady pattern, expect a wild ride of sharp swings, mild one week, bitterly cold the next. The real story is volatility, sudden high-impact weather events that could strike with little warning. This winter, the usual influence of the Pacific Ocean is weak, while powerful forces in the stratosphere are taking center stage. The clash between ocean and atmosphere is creating major uncertainty, making forecasting a real challenge. Think of the jet stream as a spinning top starting to wobble. Big dips could send Arctic air deep into the south, setting the stage for blockbuster snowstorms and record cold. The key takeaway: expect the unexpected. Weather maps could change fast, so stay alert. Flexibility will be crucial. Keep your emergency kits ready and pay close attention to alerts. This winter isn't about averages, it's about extremes that could disrupt travel, schools, and daily life. The real question isn't if it'll be colder or warmer overall, but how intense and disruptive the swings will be. Prepare for a season where calm can turn to chaos overnight. We'll be tracking every twist and turn as this fascinating winter unfolds. Stay tuned, this is one winter you won't want to ignore. Let's dive into what's driving this wild forecast. The Pacific Ocean usually sets the tone for winter, but this year its influence is fading. We're under a La Niña watch, but this La Niña is weak and uncertain, barely more than a coin toss to persist. A typical La Niña brings predictable patterns, but this time, the ocean's signal is barely a whisper. With the Pacific's influence muted, the atmosphere is open to other, more powerful drivers. It's like a ship with a tiny rudder, easily pushed around by other forces. This year, those forces are building high above us, ready to override the weak oceanic signal. Relying on a classic La Niña forecast could be misleading. The real story is the volatile, impressionable state of the atmosphere, primed for a shakeup. The usual suspect, La Niña, may not be the main player this season. Instead, the stage is set for dramatic events originating in the polar atmosphere. The ocean is taking a backseat. Now the stratosphere steps into the spotlight. Let's see what that means for the months ahead. The real game changer this winter? A sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW. The polar vortex, normally a stable, spinning reservoir of Arctic air, can be disrupted by a rapid warming high above the Earth. When the stratosphere heats up fast, it weakens or splits the vortex, letting frigid air spill southward. This is how we get severe cold snaps and major snowstorms far from the Arctic. Forecasts point to a rare, early SSW event in November or December, which could shape the entire winter. If it happens, this SSW will overpower the weak La Niña, making a colder, snowier winter much more likely for millions. It's the wild card that can flip a mild forecast on its head. All signs suggest the SSW will be a major player this season. The stakes are high. This event could define the winter for North America, Europe, and beyond. The SSW is the mechanism that can turn a quiet winter into a season of extremes. Let's look at what's setting the stage for this dramatic event. What's triggering this potential SSW? The answer starts high above the equator with the quasi-biennial oscillation, or QBO. The QBO is a regular wind pattern that switches direction every couple of years. Right now, it's in its easterly phase, a key signal for a weaker, more vulnerable polar vortex. Think of it as loosening the lid on a jar. The vortex is primed for disruption. This connection between tropical winds and the polar vortex is a well-known teleconnection. The easterly QBO doesn't cause the SSW. Almnani. Sut. It's das and Sollers that sets the stage for something big. This year, the QBO signal is clear and strong, making a major stratospheric disruption much more likely. It's the first domino in a chain reaction that could lead to a wild winter. Forecasters are watching this signal closely. It's a big warning sign. The QBO is the first ingredient in our recipe for chaos. But what will actually push the vortex over the edge? For that, we look to the snowfields of Siberia. Let's see how events on the ground can shake the sky. The second big clue comes from the ground snow cover in Siberia. When Siberia gets blanketed in snow during autumn, it creates a massive, cold, high-pressure system. This system sends powerful waves of energy up into the stratosphere, targeting the polar vortex. If the vortex is already weakened by the QBO, these waves can break it down, triggering a sudden stratospheric warming. This year, forecasts call for above-normal Siberian snow, making this scenario even more likely. The combination of a fragile vortex and a strong Siberian high is a classic setup for a major disruption. This chain of events is one of the most reliable predictors of a cold, stormy winter in North America and Europe. The more snow in Siberia, the higher the risk of a dramatic SSW. All indicators point to an active process this year. The stage is set for a rare 1-2 punch aimed at the polar vortex. Now let's see why the big forecast models might miss what's coming. With all these strong signals, why aren't the big weather agencies sounding the alarm? Many official models lean heavily on ocean signals like La Niña, which are usually reliable. But with a weak La Niña, these models may miss the powerful atmospheric drivers at play. Stratospheric processes like the QBO and Siberian snow are tough for models to capture months in advance. This creates a real risk. Official forecasts might call for a tame winter, while reality delivers extremes. The models may be missing the forest for the trees, focusing on the Pacific, not the stratosphere. This year the real story could be written high above, not in the ocean. That's why it's crucial to look beyond the headlines and dig into the details. Let's see how this could play out across North America. If the SSW unfolds as expected, the US and Canada could see a dramatic east-west split. The East and Midwest face the highest risk for cold, stormy weather, classic signs of a disrupted polar vortex. Expect Arctic outbreaks, long cold spells, and a higher chance of major nor'easters along the I-95 corridor. Meanwhile, the West could be warmer and drier, with reduced mountain snowpack and increased drought risk. This east-west dipole is a hallmark of a major stratospheric disruption. The central U.S. may see wild temperature swings as the boundary shifts. The risk isn't evenly spread. The East is in the bullseye for a harsh winter. The West, while milder, faces its own challenges. This winter could bring extremes on both sides of the continent. Now let's cross the Atlantic to see what's in store for Europe and Russia. A major SSW doesn't just hit North America, it shakes up the entire northern hemisphere. For Northern Europe, this setup raises the odds of the infamous beast from the east, frigid Siberian air flooding westward. The UK, Scandinavia, Germany, and France could see severe cold spells and major snowstorms, especially in January and February. Cities like London and Paris may face unusually harsh conditions. In Russia, western Siberia will likely be extremely cold, while European Russia becomes a battleground of wild temperature swings. This volatility brings a high risk of dangerous ice storms and heavy wet snow. The average temperature may look normal, but the reality will be dramatic swings and disruptive events. The forecast for Russia: not steady cold, but extreme, unpredictable weather. Europe and Russia are set for a winter of high-impact surprises. The stratosphere is calling the shots this year, but will all this chaos actually reach the ground? After all this, the key question is, will the stratospheric chaos reach us on the ground? Meteorologists call this coupling, when stratospheric events impact the troposphere, where our weather happens. If coupling is strong, the SSW's effects will be dramatic and widespread. But if the energy stays bottled up high, the winter could be much milder and quieter. Everything hinges on this connection. It's the biggest uncertainty of the season. We'll be watching for sudden stratospheric warming, changes in the polar vortex, and shifts in the jet stream. The final act of this winter depends on whether the chaos above truly makes its way down. Stay tuned as we track every twist and turn. This winter could be one for the record books, or a near miss. Either way, we'll be here to break it all down for you.